You ever have one of those moments where you're just completely surprised by your own reaction to something tiny? A sudden wave of frustration or anger that feels way, way bigger than the situation calls for? Well, today we're going to dive into why that happens and, more importantly, what it's really telling you. Yeah, it's a question so many of us ask ourselves in that quiet moment after an emotional storm has passed. Why do these seemingly insignificant little things sometimes push us right over the edge? The answer, it turns out, is often a lot simpler and honestly, much kinder than we think. I mean, it could be something as subtle as a slight edge in someone's voice. On its own, it's not a huge deal, right? But suddenly you feel this surge of emotion that you just can't explain. Or, maybe it's a tiny mistake. Spilling your coffee, sending an email to the wrong person, an error that on any other day you just shrug off. But today, for some reason, it feels absolutely catastrophic. Or heck, even just a small disappointment. The bus showing up late, a plan falling through. On the surface, it's trivial. But underneath all of that, it feels like a volcano feeling is just ready to erupt. Okay, so this brings us to that inner monologue, that moment of total confusion after an outburst when you're just left wondering what on earth just happened. And this is where that inner monologue kicks in, right? The quiet self-doubt that creeps in. You start to question your own stability, your own temperament, and it can be a really lonely feeling. But what if that reaction wasn't a sign of a flaw at all? What if that reaction was simply a sign that your emotional cup is full? This is a really powerful concept, sometimes called the full cup theory, and it perfectly illustrates what's really going on underneath the surface. And here's the crucial part. That big reaction didn't come from nowhere. It wasn't created by that one tiny trigger. No, instead, it was the result of a slow, quiet buildup of unexpressed feelings, like a cup filling up, drop by drop by drop. So, how does this cup actually get full? Well, what's really interesting here is how normal these steps look. Every single time you say it's fine just to avoid a difficult conversation, that's a drop. Each time you swallow your frustration to keep the peace, that's another drop. You put your own needs aside for other people again and again, and those drops just keep adding up. They don't disappear. And then that tiny mistake or that tone of voice, it isn't just one thing. It's the final drop in a cup that is already completely full, and it has no choice but to overflow. Once you get this, it allows for a really powerful shift in how you see things. What if that overflow isn't some character flaw, but actually a signal? A lot of the time, the anger isn't even about the trigger itself. It's a distress call from your nervous system. It's your inner world basically screaming, hey, I'm not being seen here. I'm carrying so much more than anyone realizes, and I need a little help. And this all connects to a really key insight from psychology. Self-control isn't some infinite well of willpower. It's much more like a muscle. And when you're stressed out, sleep-deprived, or just emotionally overwhelmed, that muscle gets exhausted. The part of your brain that regulates emotions is literally tired, which makes it reactions faster and a whole lot stronger. So let's just completely reframe this whole story, right? The old story, the one on the left, that's the one we beat ourselves up with. But the new understanding, it's all about compassion. It's not about being weak. It's about recognizing that you've been using your strength for so long that your resources are just depleted. It's a sign that you need to recharge, not a sign that you're broken. Okay, so understanding this, that's the first huge step on the path to growth. And you know what? That path starts by simply changing the questions we ask ourselves. So, this is the old question. Why am I so sensitive? I think we've all asked ourselves this one. And it just keeps us stuck in this cycle of shame, doesn't it? It's a judgment, not a real question. It just assumes something is wrong with us. But what if we replaced it with this one instead? What do I need right now? See how different that feels? It's gentle, it's compassionate, it shifts the focus from what's wrong with you to what you need. It opens the door to self-care instead of self-criticism. And when you ask that question, the answer might be surprisingly simple. Maybe you just need a nap. Maybe you need a safe space where you can feel your feelings without any judgment. Or maybe, and this is a big one, you just need to offer a little bit of kindness to yourself. Look, the most important thing to take away from all of this is this. If small things are triggering you, it's not because you have a bad temper or you're losing control. It's a sign that your inner world has been holding on quietly for a very, very long time. And now it's asking for care. Healing from this stuff isn't about fixing everything all at once. It's about softening. It's about learning to listen to your needs. So I'll just leave you with this question. What is one small, gentle thing you can do for yourself today?